So asking this question of what drives your work, it's really interesting to look at the cultural pulse, I'll say. I mean, look at the movies. They try to cater to what attracts us, right? That's what they're paid for. And the most common, well, one of the most common work models we see, especially in the adventure films and epic films, is some task that's critical to human life, right? I mean, how many movies are there where the world is all of a sudden in dire danger of destruction and they go find the person, the scientist, whatever that they need to save everyone, right? The non-assuming person who says, really, who, me? And they rise to the occasion and become the hero. Kind of like Moses in the Bible, who God picks to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. And he says, me, I'm no great leader. And today we also glorify, kind of think of that same sense of life is on the line. We really glorify, rightly so, first responders, right? And the military. And it's for this reason. We're enamored with life being on the line. We want that ultimate purpose. We love to watch it. But let me change the paradigm a little bit, or maybe add to it. I have a couple good friends who are firefighters. Let me attempt to say this as tactfully as possible. I mean, no life is less than another. We're not talking about that. However, by their testimony, they spend an inordinate amount of their time on the job trying to save people who've made poor choices and decisions, people who come from, really hard realities, not their fault, who are just barely making it. And there's it's a hard reality, but they spend a lot of time dealing with these folks who are in bad and dire straits. Meanwhile, there's a sea of people out there working to raise humanity so that they'll never end up in that position. And I honestly feel like that's as valiant as well, but it's not as tangible and acute, doesn't give as much value. Geez, I can point to my buddy, Randy James. Dr. Randy James, my co-host on the True Life podcast. He spends his day working with people in depth to help them cure or minimize chronic illness and disease, massive life change. But who makes the most money? It's the surgeons out there helping somebody with a heart attack that he's working to help somebody avoid or recover from. But the money, the acclaim goes to the brain surgeon, the heart surgeon, the neurosurgeon helping somebody often again. And this, I know this is dicey territory, but often they're helping people who are the result of some not the best lifestyle choices. And Dr. James is over here helping people avoid so that they'll never be in surgery, hopefully. I know that that's can be a volatile issue, but it's just the truth. Always exceptions, always true victimization, of course, but just to think about where we place our, valor and honor, and how about also to those people who are helping people not be in such dire positions. I mean, can you be doing work that helps and serves people, that lifts their spirits? I mean, one of my absolute favorite movies is It's a Wonderful Life. It's the Christmas classic. I watch it every season. George Bailey's father and then him, they devoted themselves to, it's a bank lending money, but it was to the working class to help them have a roof over their head. And they saw how that served their families and gave them honor. I mean, how great is that? Plenty of people out there lending money. It's just a job. Couldn't care less. Doesn't mean anything to them. But for some people, they find distinct purpose. The why, it drives them. The point being, I think you can find honor and valor in nearly any type of job, depending on who you are and if it fits you. Even if the product or the service itself is hard to find great value in, you can use the opportunity to absolutely brighten people's day, whether it's a customer, a coworker, a boss, or an employee. I've known people throughout my life experience who worked in jobs where it was difficult for me to see at first. They're in a high-rise building doing some job as what I would say, okay, and now I am going to be unpolitically correct and just tell you my own sin in this. It seems like a cog in a wheel. They're so disassociated from what they're even doing. And yet they love the people that they work with. And it doesn't mean because they were all fun. They love being able to serve and dig in and help people's lives. My son, Caleb, is working at a hospital in Florida, a really great hospital. And he's really, really helping people. he just so enjoys though being a part of people's lives. And whether it's a patient who he can lift their spirits, or a coworker or a boss or manager, and he's just so appreciates the social climate and being involved with people, and finds great purpose in there, even outside of the opportunity he does get to serve, a needy patient as well. Man, again, we're not judging what you're doing, but I am going to put the emphasis on why are you doing it? I don't care so much about the product or service and trying to justify what it's doing out there, but do you enjoy it, or does it fit you? And do you find purpose in it? Something that drives you. Again, the point is finding a reason for what you are working at. And I was thinking about, selling cars. Think of the options. You could be selling high-end cars, right? Really high-end luxury cars, and feel, man, you're helping people or assisting them or being a part of them achieving a lifelong dream. I mean, imagine the stories. The kid, I had Steven Scoggins on the Ziegler show recently, and he has this hard story of, being homeless and scraping his way up. And now he's got, $100 million business. I don't know what he drives, but imagine the day that he drove on or came up to a car lot in his, beat up jalopy or his basic car. And he bought that dream car he's always had, that Porsche or whatever, let's say. And it wasn't an ego trip, man. It was this guy changing his stars. If you haven't seen the movie A Knight's Tale, changing his stars. He changed his stars. How exciting. So what if somebody works at a high-end car dealership and they get to do that? Or maybe the opposite, sell super low-end cars and help those in dire straits get to work, supports their family. They feel like they're saving lives by selling them an affordable car. Or maybe they sell recreational vehicles and feel like they're helping families experience wonder and travel and adventure, and they find joy in that. Again, the point isn't what you're doing, but finding a good reason why, a reason that drives you. I remember years ago, my brother Jared, he was in Africa, Rwanda, and he lived there for over a decade. He was working to save the world and literally working with women and their children, bringing them out of sex slavery and giving them honorable work to do that provided for them and got them out of that. Again, the term was literally saving those referred to as the least of these. And what was I doing? Similar to what I am now, helping, middle to even above that, middle-class America, most of who already had decent jobs, decent lives. They didn't lack for a lot, and they wanted to pursue self-employment. And I finally realized, you know what? I don't have to justify that. It's just where I feel called. I was drawn to those who were in the grind, who were not fully alive, and they wanted to be the fullness of themselves. And the positive ripple effect is unknown. And I saw them do really great things and bless other people. And I found great joy and fulfillment. I do today. You don't have to justify what drives you in your work. You just need to know what it is. Find something that does drive you. Here's a classic old story, but I'm going to ask you to just really listen to it. If you've heard it again, just listen to it. Just really think about it. And I'm going to ask you to embrace it and turn around and look at yourself. So here, as the story goes, one day in 1671, Christopher Wren observed 3 bricklayers on a scaffold, one crouched, one half standing, one standing tall, working very hard and fast. To the first bricklayer, Christopher asked the question, "What are you doing?" To which the bricklayer replied, "I'm a bricklayer. I'm working hard, laying bricks to feed my family." Awesome. The second bricklayer responded, "I'm a builder. I'm building a wall." He added some gravity to it. But the third bricklayer, the most productive of the 3 and the future leader of the group, when asked the question, "What are you doing?" replied with a gleam in his eye, "I'm a cathedral builder. I'm building a great cathedral to the Almighty." You can see he just found purpose in it. None of them are wrong, but I would look at the first guy. I'm a bricklayer, I'm just working to lay bricks. We got 3 guys doing the same thing that feel it and see it different. And that guy, he probably would have been more, better served over here. Maybe he would love to be a mechanic and work on something because he loved cars, and he found his cathedral in cars, or in being an accountant, or being a doctor, who knows? But it doesn't have to even be like in the story, a cathedral. What if it was just an office building? But the third guy, he just loved building things. I mean, my kids love building Legos. I didn't. As a kid, I'd rather be out on my bike. I had no joy, and I didn't build Legos, but they do. They'd spend all this time to something they're just going to take apart, or it's going to get broken later. But thank God, those are the kind of people who are going to, my kids, are going to end up building an office building, and we need those things. Thank goodness for them. I really appreciate seeing people in jobs that I couldn't stand, because they're things that need to happen. I remember with my son, Caleb, when we ended up in the hospital when he was first, well, a lot throughout his early life, and seeing people like pediatric nurses. I mean, it's just a difficult place to be, but I finally came to thinking, thank God for them. I just couldn't stomach it. I don't think. Thank God we need them. And how interesting they can do that. And I remember finding when I first hired an assistant for the first time, and I'm trying to do all these things in my business, wearing all the hats. And I finally delegated some things. And I saw these things that were so hard, so laborious, took me so much time. And not only did she, Brenda, not only did she do them well, she did them so stinking fast compared to what I do. And she enjoyed it. It just kind of blew my socks off, because I just looked at it and judged it from my own economy. And it was just something I'm not good at. And likewise, what I did, man, she did not like that at all. I love an idea and a blank sheet of paper. And that freaks a lot of people out. Well, I'm just as freaked out by having to do details on something. I mean, work, the history of work, which I'm not going to go into and do it justice here, but it's generally throughout the span of humanity been an honorable thing. Even back when we're just hunting and gathering, the Industrial Revolution came along, and it really took a lot of people out of work that had more tangible benefit and value and results to people, and kind of put them in a lot of senses, in some monkey work where they didn't really receive a lot of value for their contribution. And since then, we've looked at work. It's a way to earn a buck, and that earning a buck is the primary reason. And we do things that are not a good fit for us. We don't enjoy, we get in environments that aren't good for us, and we parody them in shows like The Office, in cartoons like Dilbert. Nothing against Dilbert, nothing against those. My kids have loved watching The Office. But it is pretty tragic when you look at a lot of it. We poke fun at it because I think it helps us feel a little bit better about these really hard situations that we get us into day in and day out. I mean, hey, my dad's Dan Miller. He wrote the classic book, 48 Days to the Work You Love. But I'm so grateful. I've never known a day that I wasn't driven to do work I did and found really, decent purpose in it. I'm grateful for that. Not that I did, I did all kinds of odd jobs and waiting tables at places, but even there, I usually did it at places where I found some interest in the environment, in the product, or what it afforded me. And let me put a little spin on this, though. Recently, I saw an Instagram post it was actually posted by actress Brianna Brown Keene, who I follow because she's a celebrity and she has a lot of followers, and she reposted one of my quotes, and I am that vein. So I follow her. She posted one recently. It was a meme from a quote from Steve Jobs. It said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." The only way to do great work is to love what you do. However, I'm going to push on that. I agree for the most part. Statistically, yes. I've also, however, experienced some people who do great work, not so much because they love what they do, but they love why they do it. And I was thinking about this, and on a kind of a low level, but relevant, I started my first business at 15. I was tinting windows on cars. My dad was a car guy. He had a business that dealt in the car arena. And so I'm tinting windows on cars out of my dad's garage. And tinting windows is tedious work. And man, I don't do details well. I got plenty frustrated doing it, especially when I make a mistake. I didn't see any grand benefit from tinting windows on cars. Some folks did it to help with the heat and the glare in their cars, but most were, guys who wanted to look cool in their hot rods. And I was into cars, and what I did was considered kind of cool. So there was that, but I got to do it on my own time. I didn't have anybody telling me what to do. I had autonomy. I dug having my own business, being able to say that. I was the only kid I knew with a separate phone line back in there in my bedroom, literally. And it was only for business. So when I didn't give it to friends. I've never enjoyed just talking on the phone. It was just for business. So I learned how to answer it in a business tone and do all that. I got to drive a lot of cool cars. And best of all, it supported my sport, which then was BMX that ultimately led to cycling. And while my friends were making minimum wage, I just had to look back, 1985, it was $3.35. I was netting $50 per hour. I had plenty of relevant drive to do that, even though I didn't necessarily love the work itself, but due to the drive, I did a good job. I beat out established businesses owned by grown men, at the time, but I loved what it afforded me. And I've known a lot of people who fit this. I know a guy now, he's general manager of a Mercedes dealership, and the role and its duties fit him well. He doesn't feel he's saving the world, but it pays well. It allows him to drive, fancy cars, and it affords him the money and finances to travel, which is his love. And he's got all kinds of vehicles and bikes and stuff. And he goes and takes these trips. And he loves that. And it affords him that. And it helps him be a really happy and inspired guy. And honestly, I'll take that over a pastor doing the Lord's work, saving souls, who's sad and depressed and burdened by his work and a chore to even be around, which there's plenty of those. And there are plenty of people with good jobs that provide a lot for them, and they'll do well to be more grateful and understand there are relevant reasons to do what they do and appreciate what is driving them by looking at the big picture. But again, the question at face value, what drives your work? But the greater question is, what do you want to drive your work? What do you want the reason to be for getting up in the morning and going to a place of business, or fulfilling a role for a significant amount of hours per day and week and month and year? I mean, the going cultural reason that we often see depicted is do it for the money. You do it for fear of losing the job, not having the money, can't pay your bills. It's survival. It's a have to, which is just a victim mentality. And I always give the caveat, man, if you are doing work right now that you hate, but it's to put food on the table, it's survival, put food on the table for yourself and your family, I honor that. Truly, I do, as opposed to not showing up, not coming through at all. So do it though, for just as long as you have to, till you find something that is a better fitting and will be a better use of who you are. Notice I didn't say work you were even passionate about, that you love, that was play. I said that was a better use of who you are. I mean, if you put me into work that requires me to follow directions and be detailed and collaborate with everybody, I just don't do it well. It's not my natural propensity. I'm not going to do as good of a job as somebody else who fits that better. And I'd be stealing a great fitting job for someone else. I mean, if a job requires swimming, get a duck to do it. They'll do it well and enjoy it and do a better job, not a cow. If it requires climbing, find somebody who has the predisposition of a monkey to do that, not a fish, right? When we say this stuff, it sounds pithy and whatever, but it's just true. And yet we don't follow those rules every day, and we get ill-fitting people in different jobs. They hate it. They don't do as good of a job. It's a bad model. We find something that fits your natural propensities for the benefit of all of us. I mean, we pretty much all want and need money. That's a given. But where you find purpose and joy, or even just interest, is of great, great value to the marketplace, to the people who know and love you and care about you, who want you at your best, and to you. I mean, in measuring the amount of time that we devote to and the priority given to our work, we'd have to say that our work is something that we value. We never want to say most, because we always want to say family and God, but we give the most priority to in our daily efforts. So what do you want in return, and in regards to a job or a business? We don't discuss that as much. But have you ever been asked or thought for yourself, what do I really value in regards to my vocation and career? What do I want my days to look like? What do I want my work to say about my life? What do I want to show for all the years and decades I put into it? Why am I working? What lifestyle am I working to support? And those are questions, those are issues. And you're going to hear some guy, an older person say, that's just luxurious, man. You just do what you have to do to put food on the table. I get that argument. It's just difficult in today's day and age. There are a lot of opportunities. We really have expanded, and there's a lot of opportunity. And I see a lot of those people. And again, they were valiant and putting in their 40 years and whatnot. But they sure weren't, my experience, the most joyful person they could be. I'm not sure that I'm convinced that they rose to the capacity that they could have had. And their lifestyle often in their lives and their character wasn't that inspiring. So even if you're not doing it for you, what are you doing? Randy hit me with this, with some of the attitudes I was having around self-employment and how I was treating it. He says, are you trying to teach your kids that being an entrepreneur is this harried, crazy, stressful thing? Hit me pretty hard. No, I want to show them joy in it. And he didn't say this. Now I'm paraphrasing, but it was me talking to myself. Well, then Kevin, be joyful, be grateful, or don't do it, or do it better. Learn to do it better. So what do you value for your work? Here's some things that I thought of. Do you value autonomy, getting to do what you want to do? That's huge to me. Not necessary, not a requirement, not a best. It's just huge for me. Because the other thing is, do you like collaboration? I don't do that well. I don't enjoy it as much. I want to do my part on my own. And that's okay. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who are like that, and they delegate other things, but what they do on their own. That's okay. So they don't like collaboration. Some people do. Awesome. Do you want time flexibility, or are you okay with a more regimented, structured timeline for your day? That's okay. You don't get awards. You don't get a better place in heaven by having time flexibility. Some people want it. Some people, it's stressful to have to make the decision and motivate yourself. It's okay. But what do you want? What do you want? What kind of environment do you want to work in? I mean, I see some people producing great things in a cubicle with no windows. It would drain my soul. But if they don't care and they're happy where they are and they're producing good things and they're inspired, it's okay. But what environment does help raise you? How about the people you work with? If you work with anybody, how about the people you work with, whether it's employees, managers, bosses, vendors, freelancers? How much control do you want? Do you need? What do you want your commute to be like? Do you want to have a commute at all? What about the opportunity for progress? Some people are okay and joyful because it meets their natural propensities to do a similar thing day in and day out. Some people need to be able to progress. Again, it's not a right or wrong. What motivates you? What drives you? How much interest do you need in the ultimate product or service that you are helping create and sell? How much financial possibility do you need? How much revenue do you desire? Do you care about? What kind of impact on humanity do you need to have? Your contribution. And again, it could be in the product or service, or it could be that you are serving the people that you are around, customers, employees, coworkers, whatever it could be. Again, these are just relevant questions to ask yourself, to look at, what do you want? What would be the best use of you? What type of environment? And I do like going back to that aspect of, a monkey, a fish, a cow, or whatever. We would never put them in something that didn't fit them. But for us, we often just figure, you do what you got to do to have a good, steady job. And so I want to back off somewhat of, think about my kids, to say, find the job that just makes you smile. Okay, but maybe find the job. What if it makes you cry? And yet it is the call of your heart. What if you're that pediatric nurse and every day you're in tears because it's tragic, and yet it is the call of your heart? I want that for my kids. So if it makes them cry, but it's the fulfillment of what they feel, it's the best use of them. How's that? It is the best use of them. And they could be over here in something that made them all smiles and other people, and yet it left them feeling less than. It left them feeling like there's a void out there. I'm one of those that I need to feel like my work in and of itself is intrinsically helping and serving people, as opposed to Dave Munson. He owns the company Saddleback Leather. I'm not going to go, for those watching the video, I've got one over here I could hold up, but Saddleback Leather. And he does that. He's not saving the world with that business. Now, he does serve his employees. He really finds joy in that, but he also likes the time and money that affords him to go over to Africa, and that what they support over there is dramatic. Okay. But he has fun spending his days doing design on high-end luxury leather bags. Man, I don't have the drive to do that. I need my work in and of itself to be serving that person who I felt called to. And you could look at him and go, man, he's making far greater impact. That's not the point. That's not the point. I don't have to justify what I'm doing, and you don't either. The point is to figure out what does it for you, what makes you tick, what will drive you and be the best use of you.